In Russia, it is observed that the FSB is establishing a new power within the government. Things have gotten to the point where President Vladimir Putin himself has begun to lose control over the FSB. Recall, under Article 32 of the Federal Constitutional Law on the Government of the Russian Federation, the FSB head answers directly to the RF president, and the FSB director is the RF president's appointment, although he is a member of the RF government, which is headed by the chairman of the government. He also, ex officio, is a permanent member of the Security Council of Russia, presided over by the president and chairman of the National Anti-Terrorism Committee of Russia. But now the situation has changed. In Moscow, the walls of power are closing in. Putin's own secret police are arresting the men who once built his empire. Governors, generals, and ministers are being dragged from their offices into handcuffs. The Federal Security Service, the FSB, has turned from guardian to executioner. It is dismantling the very system it once served, piece by piece. Kiev-based national security strategist Jason J. Smart said this. According to him, inside the Defense Ministry, the purge is ruthless. Deputy Minister Timur Ivanov has been sentenced to 13 years for stealing billions from military construction. Other generals have been stripped of rank and jailed. The FSB now controls the courts, the prisons, and the ministries. Even Putin's oldest allies are no longer safe. The collapse is fueled by economic freefall. Oil prices have plunged below $54 a barrel, far under what Moscow needs to survive. Inflation is near 9%. Mortgages have hit 30%. And the National Wealth Fund is running dry. China and Iraq have frozen projects, and foreign investors are fleeing. Ordinary Russians are emptying their savings as confidence in the banks vanishes, the expert added. Jason J. Smart said that on the battlefield, Ukraine's strikes are destroying the illusion of control. Drones hit oil refineries, ports, and power plants across Russian territory. Each explosion deepens the chaos in Moscow. The FSB uses every military failure as an excuse to tighten its grip. The regime is devouring itself, its elite collapsing into paranoia and betrayal. The war that began in Ukraine has reached the Kremlin's heart. The question now is, who still rules Russia? He said. Recently, a new law empowering Russia's Federal Security Service to operate its own pre-trial detention centers was signed into effect by Vladimir Putin, ending the Justice Ministry's nearly 2-decade-long exclusive control over detainee handling. A system established in the 2000s to align with European legal norms. The law, which will take effect on the 1st of January 2026, allows the FSB to create and operate its own facilities in which it can establish its own standards for conditions in which pre-trial detainees will be held, transported, and investigated. The measure will affect detention facilities where individuals suspected of treason, espionage, terrorism, or extremism are being held in order, according to an explanatory note accompanying the legislation, to better protect state secrets during the ongoing invasion of Ukraine. According to researchers Andrei Soldatov and Irina Borogan, experts on Russia's security services, the law represents the basis for a new gulag and could lead to increased repression in the country. In addition to allowing the FSB to create its own facilities, the law will return at least 7 pre-trial detention centers previously operated by the Justice Ministry to the FSB's legal control, according to Meduza, an independent news outlet, including the notorious Lefortovo pre-trial facility in Moscow.
A senior member of the British government on Wednesday denied he's plotting to oust Prime Minister Keir Starmer, in a sign of deep anxiety in the Labour Party over its dire poll ratings less than 18 months after a landslide election victory. According to Associated Press, Health Secretary Wes Streeting said talk of a leadership challenge coming from Labour officials and lawmakers is self-defeating and self-destructive. He spoke after aides to the Prime Minister preemptively told British media outlets that Starmer would fight any leadership challenge. "It's totally self-defeating briefing, not least because it's not true," he told Sky News. He said, "Whoever's been briefing this has been watching too much Celebrity Traitors," referring to the hit reality TV show that pits faithful members of a group against conniving enemies within. The 42-year-old health secretary is one of the government's most effective communicators and is widely tipped as a future party leader. In the House of Commons, Starmer rejected a claim by Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch that there is a toxic culture in Downing Street, with the government embroiled in civil war. A challenge this early in a government's 5-year term would be highly unusual. But Labour lawmakers are gloomy about opinion polls that consistently put Labour well behind the hard-right Reform UK party led by Nigel Farage, though ahead of the main opposition Conservative Party, which faces crises of its own. They are nervous about the annual budget statement on November 26, which is expected to include income tax hikes, breaking an election promise. Since being elected in July 2024, Starmer's government has struggled to deliver on its pledges to get the economy growing, repair tattered public services and ease the cost of living. Inflation remains stubbornly high, unemployment has risen and the economic outlook subdued.
What is going on? The allies of the PM saying that if there's a leadership challenge after the budget, the PM will fight it. So what, is there a leadership challenge? What's happening?
No, and I think whoever's been briefing this has been watching too much Celebrity Traitors, and this is just about the worst attack on a faithful I've seen since Joe Marler was kicked out and banished in the final. It's totally self-defeating briefing, not least because it's not true, and I don't understand how anyone thinks it's helpful to the Prime Minister either to suggest he's fighting for his job at a time when, last time I saw him on Monday evening to talk about violence against women and girls and how we tackle it, he's fighting for the country and trying to turn it around from the absolute mess that we inherited.
So what's your message then to people who have been briefing this? What would you say to them?
Well, firstly, I'd like to commend them for at least taking on board the feedback about sexist briefings, because we've seen this before. Lucy Powell, Bridget Phillipson, Angela Rayner, could go around pretty much the entire cabinet table, so at least they're picking on one of the boys now. But in all seriousness, it doesn't help anyone. It's not true. But the point is, these sorts of Westminster bubble, process stories, boys getting carried away, these are things that distract from our ability to get across the message of the change we're making, the difference we're making on things that voters actually care about.
There's a few specific allegations about you that have been put out in the last 24 hours. I want to put them to you directly. Firstly, there's the Times. Downing Street figures suspect that Streeting could demand the Prime Minister's resignation in the days after the budget. Are you going to rule that out? Yes,
and nor did I shoot JFK. I don't know where Lord Lucan is. Had nothing to do with Shergar. And I do think that the US did manage to do the moon landings. I don't think they were faked, certainly not by me.
What about after the local elections next year? Is that a point when, if you do badly, if you lose in Wales, that it could be time for